You don't hear me attacking certain subjects very, very often. One of those subjects is anything pertaining to First Take, ESPN, what's written. But there are certain times where enough's enough. Enough's enough. Let's go. Let's go. I can't wait. I might come off vacation early. Because I got time in August, too.
I just looked at my wrist, I got time today. I'm crossing the line today. The hate be so real, the love be.
Welcome to the Dark Times channel. So here we go again, back with another one. Make sure you guys go ahead and hit that like button for me if you haven't done so already. And if you're not new to the channel and you enjoy the content on this channel, make sure you go ahead and hit that subscribe button for me as well. And so let's go ahead and get into it. Came across this video with Stephen A. Smith, and Stephen A. Smith is pretty much going in on everything and everybody. I guess he got tired of the chatter and decided to chime in on a few things that people have been saying about him and people have been saying about ESPN. And so I'm going to go ahead and let a clip play, and then of course I'll chime in along the way.
I'm listening to Dan Le Batard, and I guess that it was some show from the other day, because obviously it was in the aftermath of the layoffs and you know, a sad day, the worst day in the history of ESPN and all of this stuff because of the layoffs. Of course it was a bad day. Of course that's not something you celebrate. Of course you take no joy in folks losing their jobs. I know that, and as I will remind this audience, as sad as I am, and as wishful as I am that every single one of those folks land on their feet and ultimately recapture a prosperous career that they had at ESPN, that they do it somewhere else, I will remind everybody they're casualties of a layoff. Because ESPN lost $5.5 billion. The parks and the theaters, not the situation in Florida with Governor DeSantis and the don't say gay policy, or so what was labeled that. That ain't the reason. Contrary to what y'all want to believe. See, y'all talking emotion. I have facts. That is not true. Parks, movie theaters, and sporting events disappearing. It's a lot of money to make up for. That's what happened. Why is ESPN always a topic of discussion like this? And why are folks coming off like we're losing? Subscribers have diminished. We're in 72 million homes now, not the 90 plus million or even 100 million that we were years ago. Do you have any idea how dominant ESPN in the sports landscape?
And so I actually agree with Stephen A. Smith on this. ESPN isn't going a down place. ESPN isn't going anywhere. And so for the past couple of weeks now, I've heard a lot of people say this and that when it pertains to ESPN, especially as it pertains to all the different layoffs that we had to witness over the past few weeks. A lot of longtime faces at ESPN were let go. And so a lot of people and a lot of individuals, especially the ones that Stephen A. Smith is referring to in this video, have been suggesting that ESPN is losing money because they're too political. That's not the case. Not at all. And even if it was the case, let's just play devil's advocate for a second. Even if it was the case, so what? ESPN, Disney is part of that machine. And that machine doesn't get shut down unless somebody unplugs that machine. Think of Disney as Chase Bank, JP Morgan. Think of Disney like that. It's too big to fail. The monetary value is just a byproduct of the actual value. The actual value, like I said, is being able to influence, being able to direct. And so ESPN just had a bunch of layoffs. Jalen Rose is out of there. Max Kellerman's gone. Keyshawn Johnson's gone. And a list of other broadcasters that have been let go. But yet we still have somebody like Malika Andrews. That just lets you know the direction that ESPN is headed. That just lets you know the direction that they're headed. A lot of these companies like Disney are pretty much doubling down at this point. They're all in. And if they're all in, that means everybody else is in by default. Because it's not about profit. Or let me rephrase that. It's not just about profit. Because if it was about profit, and it truly was just about profit, then Disney would have had a plethora of original content ready to go when they first launched the Disney Plus app. Hell, Marvel alone, no, scratch that, X-Men alone would generate millions of dollars just from the original content that they could have been doing if they wanted to be more profitable. How many people would subscribe and sign up for an original X-Men series? How many people would sign up and subscribe for a Wolverine series? How many people would sign up and subscribe for a Storm series? How many people would sign up and subscribe for an Xavier series? When I first invested in Disney a while back, these are some of the things that I was thinking about, which is why I thought it was gonna explode. When I first invested in Disney stock, I thought it was going to blow up because I thought this company is smart enough to recognize what I recognize. Surely they're going to have a bunch of original content ready to go. But we never saw it. But then I started looking at some of the content that was coming out on Disney and some of the content that continues to be put out on Disney. And I started looking at all the different kinds of characters and the different kind of storylines. And some of you guys understand what I'm getting at. And so then it all clicked for me. It all started to make sense. Disney is not going to waste money building up a character like Wolverine or Xavier or Storm or any of these characters. Like I said, a plethora of different original content that Disney could do. They're not going to waste resources on bringing out a character, how they want that particular character to come out, how they want to portray that particular character. They're not going to waste time doing so if the people aren't ready. But trust me when I tell you, Disney is without a doubt going to put out a Wolverine series. And the kind of Wolverine that you and I grew up on, trust me when I tell you, that's not going to be the same Wolverine that's going to be on Disney Plus. There's no telling what they're going to be trying to do with a lot of these different characters. And I'm not going to go too heavy on that. And so Stephen A. Smith is somebody that I would assume is somewhat in the know when it comes to Disney and some of their plans. And so this is why he can talk like this. He's talking big stuff throughout this whole video. Once Disney's done with these layoffs, you're about to see Disney blow up. You're about to see ESPN blow up like you've never seen it. Because truth be told, the people that they fired and the people that they let go, it wasn't about the money. It was about the jobs. Their services are no longer needed. These jobs aren't coming back. I don't care how well Disney does. I don't care how much their stock blows up. A lot of these jobs that were lost, these jobs aren't coming back. And the same thing could be said about a lot of these companies. A lot of these layoffs that are happening right now due to the so-called recession, I don't care how good it gets in the future, a lot of these jobs aren't coming back. With the emergence of AI and with the emergence, or at least in the near future, emergence of robotics, human services are no longer needed, at least not the way that they used to be. And so Stephen A. Smith can talk that stuff like he is in this video because he's somebody that's on the inside and he knows what's on the horizon for Disney and ESPN. I'm going to go ahead and let it continue.
I saw Jemele Hill on Dan Le Batard's podcast, but I think that was many months ago and stuff like that, when she said, hey, ESPN wants black faces, not black voices. Who the hell am I, Michael Jackson? I lost my complexion or something? What about Ryan Clark? What about Marcus Spears? What about Louis Riddick? What about Kimberly Martin? What about Damian Woody? What about Bart Scott? What about Keyshawn before he left? They have black voices all over the place. Black face. I'm only bringing this up, ladies and gentlemen, because honest to God, I never saw it. I don't know the difference between what was posted yesterday or a week ago and what was posted 6 months ago. But I'm seeing this, I'm like, what? Jemele Hill has moved on. As a colleague, I miss her every day. Wonderful talent. Deep sister. conscientious, cares about a lot of people. I would never, ever, ever think to utter that any network she is on want black faces but not black voices. I would never do that. Not in a million years. Just because she's on it. Because her voice mattered that much to our network.
A lot of people within the black community want Stephen A. Smith to turn into Umar Johnson while he's on ESPN. And there's no way that Disney or ESPN is going to allow somebody with that large of a platform to go off script. Stephen A. Smith has actually got suspended and I believe fired a few times from ESPN for saying the wrong thing, putting his foot in his mouth. And so he's somebody that knows what he's doing. He's somebody that has pushed the envelope as far as he could push it at the workplace. Probably more so than most people within the black community would do on their job. There's a lot of people that go to work every day and wouldn't discuss half the topics and half the political issues that Stephen A. Smith addresses on a daily basis. The only thing you should be asking of Stephen A. Smith is don't be a Malika Andrews. Don't do the dirty work and the bidding of you-know-who. That's the only thing you can really ask of somebody like Stephen A. Smith. If ESPN or Disney is giving you a multi-million deal to talk about sports and occasionally talk about political issues, and all you got to do is tiptoe around anything that's too controversial, 99.9% of you would take that deal in a heartbeat. And so I think Stephen A. Smith knows exactly what he's doing, and he's somebody that is playing the long game, and he's somebody that has played the long game, which is why he's still employed by ESPN, and he's now branching out and doing his own thing. This is Stephen A. Smith's podcast, and he's used ESPN to build up his brand and to build up his name. And so, of course, I haven't agreed with everything that Stephen A. Smith has done or said over the course of his career. But Stephen A. Smith, at the end of the day, he's somebody that's held it down. For the most part, he's held it down. And he hasn't done anything differently that you or I would have done on the job, especially if that job involved mass communication and you were already on a tight leash. And so that's all I got for this particular video. Definitely go ahead and drop a like for me and make sure you comment in the comment section. And if you haven't subscribed to the channel yet and you enjoy the content on this channel, make sure you go ahead and do that as well. And as usual, peace and chaos.